Have you ever wondered what happens to you in that fleeting second when your eyes gently close, when the world around you dissolves, and you sink into the dark waters of oblivion? Perhaps you believe it's nothing more than rest for a weary body. But what if I told you that is a lie? Within this seeming silence, a great journey begins, where breath turns barely perceptible and the heart beats in steady rhythm. Your consciousness unfolds like the petals of a mysterious flower. This space between wakefulness and sleep, the ancients called it the gateway to other realms. Egyptian priests whispered of the Ka, a second self that leaves the body to wander among the gods. Shamans felt the soul slipping free to meet the spirits of forests and ancestors. Eastern sages learned to step beyond dreams as confidently as we tread solid ground. And what do? You fall asleep, forgetting yourself. Modern scientists, with furrowed brows, watch their screens as flashes of activity bloom in the REM stage. They speak of patterns resembling meditation or near-death experiences. Yet they are afraid to admit, perhaps in that moment, you truly depart. Each night, as your eyes close, you cross a threshold whose existence you never even suspected. A threshold where the laws of reality turn fluid, like smoke curling from a midnight fire. There, you may meet your shadows, hear whispers of the departed, and see cities never mapped on Earth. Do you still think it's mere imagination? Then why do so many return with memories of places they later find in waking life? Why do the same visions of snow, light, and tunnels recur in the stories of those who stood at death's edge? Perhaps you've always been a traveler. You've simply been asleep too long. There is a truth we have grown accustomed to ignoring. Humanity has always known more about its nature than it dares to remember. Ancient civilizations did not fear acknowledging that sleep was not mere rest, but a sacred ritual, a portal to realms where time and space obey different laws. Egyptian priests spoke of the Ka, the twin of the soul, slipping free from the flesh to glide between dimensions. They taught that dreams were meetings with deities, messages sent from the Nile to the star-strewn heavens. The Ba, another manifestation of consciousness, returned carrying wisdom too profound to grasp in waking life. In ancient Greece, Plato asserted that dreams were bridges stretching from earthly dust into radiant spheres of ideas. He spoke of the immortal soul glimpsing truth during its nightly journeys. In the healing temples of Asclepius, dream oracles welcomed pilgrims who sought cures by sleeping beneath sacred vaults. Far on the edges of the world, shamans beat their drums, entering trance to follow a student's soul, lost in the labyrinths of dreams. Their journeys were no metaphor, but a practice. They returned with knowledge, songs, and stories from places no human foot had ever touched. They saw visions, serpents, bridges of light, rivers flowing skyward. These peoples made no division between the inner and the outer worlds. For them, dreams were part of reality's fabric, as solid as the earth beneath their feet. They knew, if you fear your nightly journeys, you fear yourself. Today, we call this folklore, symbols, archetypes. But beneath those words lies the memory of lineage, the quiet whisper of ancestors still humming in the blood of every sleeper. And yet, each evening, millions close their eyes believing they drift into nothingness. They have forgotten. Sleep is a road. The only question is, where does it lead? You might think the world has long since unraveled the mystery of sleep, reducing it to electrical impulses and chemical processes in the brain. But what if even science is beginning to admit, beyond the neurons lies something far greater? In laboratories with white walls and the cold glow of monitors, scientists observe strange brain patterns during the rapid eye movement phase. These bursts of activity resemble the deep meditative states of monks immersed in nirvana. They find parallels between sleep states and the experiences of those standing on the edge of life and death. People return with stories of places they saw in dreams, only to discover those locations later in waking life. Descriptions of streets, houses, even scents match perfectly. Where does such precision come from if the mind was supposedly inactive? A new field, quantum consciousness, asks whether the mind could be a field, unbound by the brain. Some physicists suggest that consciousness is a fundamental energy of the universe, capable of tuning into multidimensional spaces. This means that each time we fall asleep, we are not merely seeing images. We are attuning ourselves to the frequencies of other realms, like an old radio picking up distant signals. Mysticism and science are no longer enemies. They are beginning to speak the same truth in different languages. Consciousness is not a product of the brain, but a key unlocking the gates of the unknown. And if this is true, what remains of the world we thought we knew? Perhaps all of reality is nothing but a thin film stretched across the surface of an infinite ocean. In an instant, everything around dissolves. No sounds, no breath, no heartbeat. Only silence, thick like a fog you could drown in. And suddenly, you realize you are not in your body. You look down and see it. Your own body, lying lifeless on the operating table or in the room where you drifted off to sleep. You try to scream, but there is no voice. You reach out, but there are no hands. You are only a point of consciousness, hovering in space, weightless as a feather and infinitely alive. Thousands of voices have spoken of this, of floating above their bodies, of a soft radiance all around, of a tunnel of light calling them forward. They saw departed loved ones, heard their words, filled with love and calm. Some spoke of gardens with flowers of unearthly beauty, others of cities of light where streets pulse with golden rivers of energy. But how to explain this when the brain is inactive? How can people recount doctors' conversations and surgical details that are later verified? Scientific reasoning trembles on the edge of helplessness. What if this is not illusion, but proof that consciousness can exist apart from the body? What if death is not an ending, but simply another door? In this state, there is no time. You see past, present, and possible futures all at once. All fears dissolve, leaving only pure being. But sooner or later comes the choice, to return or to pass beyond. Those who return carry within them a quiet power. They are never the same again. For once you have glimpsed another reality, the echo of eternity never leaves you. Imagine the moment you wake, not in your body but outside of it. The air feels viscous, like honey, and each movement comes without effort, as if you've become part of the wind. The room where you slept moments ago is bathed in a strange light, its walls breathing, pulsing gently like a living organism. Everything feels familiar, yet hauntingly foreign. Robert Monroe described this state with startling precision. He spoke of vibrations, faint at first, like bees buzzing inside the skull, then growing into a roaring current of energy. His books became guides for those who found themselves suddenly outside their shells, unsure of what to do next. Monroe dedicated decades to studying this phenomenon. He recorded hundreds of out-of-body experiences, encounters with entities, journeys to realms where form and matter yield to thought alone. He wrote of golden plains where thoughts manifest instantly, and of realms shrouded in utter darkness, absorbing stray fears like a living abyss. But was he alone in these discoveries? Number. In the 1970s, Dr. Charles Tart conducted a series of experiments with participants capable of leaving their bodies. In one test, subjects were asked to exit and read a number written on a piece of paper placed on a high shelf, invisible from the room. Astonishingly, some managed accurate results. Skeptics insist this is nothing more than hypnagogic hallucination, a trick of a fatigued brain. Yet how can we dismiss thousands of reports from people across cultures, ages, and centuries? Why do they describe the same sensations? Vibrations, flashes of light, the jolt of consciousness tearing free? Those who've been there speak of an initial jolt, like being thrust from the familiar world. The first feeling is fear, heavy as stone on the chest. But beyond fear comes weightlessness, almost bliss. No longer bound to flesh, you are pure energy, a single point of awareness in an infinite ocean. Some recount journeys to other homes, cities, even planets. Others find themselves in a library whose walls are made of glowing books, holding the stories of all souls. Still others wander realms devoid of sound and color, only an endless sense of presence, the realization that they are part of something boundless. Yet there are those who encountered chaos, dark corridors, menacing figures lurking at the edges of perception, spaces where stray thoughts became instant nightmares. Monroe warned, "Your state of mind determines everything. If you're filled with fear or anger, your vibration draws the same there." This is no game. It's a voyage along the edges of reality, where every emotion fuels your path and every vision becomes a doorway. There are moments before sleep when you feel a strange trembling. It begins deep in the chest, radiating through the body in waves, subtle at first, like the breath of midnight wind across a desert. At first, it feels like a gentle tingling, as if millions of tiny sparks are dancing beneath your skin. But if you don't flinch, if you allow yourself to remain in this state, the trembling grows into a powerful vibrational current that engulfs every cell. Those who have experienced conscious departure from the body say this is the moment they understood. The body remains still, yet the mind is ready to take flight. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, feeling the wind against your face, knowing one step will carry you into the abyss of infinity. Sometimes, along with the vibrations come sounds, a low hum, like the distant murmur of planets, or piercing tones, as though invisible strings are drawn tight across the air. These sounds seem alive, resonating not in the ears, but deep in the core of your being. This is where the true power of your mental state reveals itself. If fear grips your heart, the vibrations turn jagged, the sounds distorted, and the surrounding space darkens, thick with fog and shadows. But if there is peace within you, love and clear intent, you dissolve into golden light. The spaces become translucent, the worlds harmonious, and you, a luminous point adrift in a boundless sea of energy. Many ancient traditions emphasize the importance of preparation before sleep. Shamans sang cleansing songs to purify the spirit. Yogis recited mantras to harmonize the body's and mind's vibrations. Egyptians burned resins and herbs, believing the aroma would carry the soul on gentle winds into other dimensions. This is no superstition. It is an understanding. Emotional state is the key to the gates of sleep. Fear leads into chaotic realms where every shadow awakens and mirrors your nightmares. Love and surrender open doors to spaces of light, where each breath fills you with bliss and knowing. In this fragile threshold between waking and dreaming, you become the alchemist of your own reality. Every whisper of thought echoes in subtle realms. Every heartbeat generates vibrations that form ladders, or abysses. This is not mere sleep. It is a sacred act of co-creation. You are either the prisoner of your own chaotic fears, or the soul soaring to where peace and true freedom reside. When fear dissolves, you begin to notice. The space around you breathes. It is not empty. It hums with whispers, sparks of light, and a subtle warmth, as if the very fabric of reality is gently heated by an unseen sun. Each breath fills you with a sweet aroma unknown to earthly gardens. Here, the air is thick with vibrations, each one sounding like a chord struck by an invisible cosmic choir. You take a step, or perhaps it is not a step, but an intention, and the world responds. Beneath you, a bridge of light unfolds, leading toward a horizon ablaze with golden fire. Subtle realms are mutable. Thought becomes form, emotion turns into color, and memory shapes the path you walk. Some travelers speak of encounters with guides, beings whose forms echo human shape, yet whose eyes shine like stars. They do not speak with words. Their messages pour into you as torrents of knowledge, flooding your awareness all at once. At times, these meetings unfold in temples of pure quartz, where columns shimmer with rainbow hues and every shadow cradles ancient wisdom. Others find themselves in infinite libraries, their walls stretching beyond sight. Shelves hold books woven of light and sound, each containing the stories of all lives, all worlds, all thoughts ever conceived. A touch awakens entire layers of memory, not just yours, but of the collective whole. There are realms where rivers flow skyward, returning to the clouds, and forests sing with the voices of ancestors. Cities built of vibrations pulse with golden and turquoise light. No bodies exist there. Each being shines as pure energy. Yet you recognize them. Old friends, loved ones, teachers from forgotten lifetimes. But not all spaces are so harmonious. Some levels seethe with chaos, where thoughts instantly become reality. One moment of doubt, and shadows thicken, taking on the forms of your fears. Walls collapse, and the air trembles with a hum that presses against the mind. Monroe warned, "Intention and inner clarity are your only compasses in these realms." You realize this is no dream, no illusion. It is a journey through the inner layers of the universe. Each layer reflects your own vibrations. The purer your thoughts and emotions, the brighter and more harmonious the worlds you enter. And then, before you, gates appear, an arch of living light pulsing in rhythm with your heart. Beyond it lies a space words cannot capture. Here there are no forms, no boundaries, only the overwhelming sense of oneness. You are no longer you. You are everything. And suddenly you understand. These realms are not out there. They have always been within you, in the depths of your consciousness, waiting for the moment you dared to look. At the dawn of all ages, teachers spoke. To step through the gates of other worlds, you must cleanse the mirror of your soul. Today, we've forgotten these words, and yet the keys remain, ancient, simple, and astonishingly powerful. The first key is dream memory. Each morning, as you awaken, do not rush back into the noisy world. Linger on the threshold between sleep and waking, like a traveler hesitant to set foot on solid ground. Preserve the images of your nightly journeys. Keep a dream journal, not just a notebook, but a sacred scroll where every line becomes a map of your subconscious. Write in it immediately upon waking, recording fragments of thoughts, colors, and emotions. Over time, you'll notice your dreams growing more vivid, your recall clearer, as if the universe itself were opening secret chambers for you. The second key is affirmations and intention. Before sleep, repeat words that serve as your incantation. I am aware in my dreams. I observe. I remember. Speak them not mechanically, but with deep inner agreement, as though each syllable fills your spirit with light. Set your intention not as a wish, but as a certainty, as if you already are a traveler in subtle realms. The third key is visualization and breath. Lying on your back, imagine yourself light, weightless. Feel your body growing transparent, your mind suffused with soft radiance. Inhale slowly and deeply. Exhale in long flowing waves like tides receding into infinity. In this state, you may begin to feel vibrations, gentle pulsations ringing in your fingertips and at the center of your chest. Do not fear them. Do not resist. Allow yourself to dissolve into these sensations. The fourth key is the vibrational body technique, spoken of by Tibetan practitioners and Amazonian shamans. When the vibrations peak, imagine yourself gently slipping from your body, like a petal carried by the wind. You float upward, toward the ceiling, and pass through it, feeling the cool night air embrace you. All you need is to maintain clarity of thought and not let fear pull you back. But remember, there is no place here for haste. Every technique is not an act of force, but an art of awareness. You are not forcing yourself into other realms. You are simply learning to see what has always been near. Experienced practitioners speak of sacred preparation. An hour before sleep, avoid bright lights and mundane conversations. Cleanse your space. Light a candle, burn incense or sandalwood, open a window to invite in the night air. Lay down the burdens of your day, lest you carry them into subtle worlds. As you begin to enter dreams consciously, everything changes. The spaces grow more stable, colors more vivid, encounters more profound. There you can seek answers unreachable in the world of flesh. There you may meet guides, reconnect with the departed, witness your soul's lessons, and heal ancient wounds. And then you cease being a chance visitor in dreams. You become a traveler, a conscious explorer of realms where every thought births reality and every emotion builds or destroys entire universes. Everyone who steps beyond the threshold of sleep inevitably faces a choice: to explore or to retreat. These realms beckon with their boundlessness, like a night ocean, smooth, dark, and yet filled with hidden currents. Here, in a space without form or time, you can become anything, go anywhere. But each step echoes in the deepest layers of your being. There are those who use these states as tools for healing. They return from subtle worlds with a profound sense of peace, as if not a single crack remains in their souls. They speak of temples of light where they met guides who helped them release the pain of past lives. Some speak of learning spaces, ephemeral halls where the mind absorbs knowledge impossible in earthly reality. Here, one can glimpse events yet to come or remember those forgotten centuries ago. But these possibilities demand preparation and inner discipline. In subtle realms, there are no filters to soften reality. Here, thoughts become flesh, emotions turn into matter, and fears manifest as living entities. A single moment of panic can transform a shining city into a labyrinth of shadows where every wall reflects your nightmares. Experienced practitioners warn, before venturing out, the mind must be stabilized. Breathing practices, meditation, mantras, these are not ornamental rituals, but shields against chaos. If anger or sorrow lies hidden in the heart, they will take shape as monsters following you until you can face them without fear. There are other dangers too. Chaotic spaces. Those who have wandered there describe faceless figures standing at the edges of perception and endless corridors leading nowhere. There is no light, no sound, only the sensation of time thickening, turning viscous like oil. Those who returned often could not speak of it. Their eyes bore the imprint of knowledge too heavy for words. Yet even here lies a lesson. Chaos is not an enemy. It is a mirror. It shows you parts of yourself you've spent a lifetime avoiding. To move through it, you must not fight, but accept, with an open heart, trusting that beyond darkness, light always waits. Astral journeys are no game. They are the alchemy of consciousness, where each experience reshapes you anew. There are no guarantees, no maps, no paths for the faint of heart. There is only you, your resolve, and your willingness to meet your true self. And yet, for those who dare, the reward is unparalleled. You emerge from these journeys transformed, with a new understanding of life and death, with eyes that see beauty, even in the simplest of moments. You begin to breathe differently, deeper, more consciously, with reverence for each inhalation. There comes a moment when you realize there is no turning back. All the images you've seen, bridges of light, cities of vibration, guides with star-born eyes, dissolve like morning mist. You stand before a veil whose surface ripples like liquid glass, reflecting a sky without end. Here, there is no time, no space, no familiar I. There is only the breath of the universe, deep and steady, like the heartbeat of a primordial world. You feel it. Beyond this veil, there are no words, only knowing. It does not come as thought. It pours into you like a river into the ocean. Here, the boundary between within and without ceases to exist. You begin to understand. All your dreams, fears, and joys were but shadows on the wall of a cave. The true world is the one that has always waited beyond the veil. And in this silence, a voice speaks. It is neither male nor female. It is the rhythm of life itself, the energy pulsing in every cell of your being. You have always been here. You will always be here. The only question is, do you wish to remember? This voice does not command or plead. It simply is, as breath, as light, as truth itself. You begin to see. In the veil flicker images, millions of lives, millions of worlds, every thought ever born in the consciousness of any being. You see faces of those you have loved and hated. You see your own eyes filled with fear and hope at once. You understand, all of this is you. Every breath of the universe is your breath. But with this knowing comes another question, quiet yet piercing to your core. Are you ready to see it all? Are you ready to accept that you are both light and darkness, and the infinite expanse between them? Those who reach this threshold choose. Some return, carrying a spark of memory, faint yet unquenchable. They live on, but their eyes hold a depth that was never there before. They no longer fear death, for they know, beyond it lies no end, only another dawn. Others step forward and vanish. They do not die. They become part of what cannot be named. Their names, memories, and forms dissolve, turning to ripples across the surface of being. And here you stand, at the edge of the veil. You hear its whisper. It waits for your decision. Each night, as you close your eyes, you draw nearer to me. Every dream is an invitation. But what will you choose? Will you remain a prisoner of familiar reality? Or will you become a seeker, stepping beyond? You inhale, hold the breath.